Galactic Coalition Academy sat on a world called Vexor Prime. It was a place where young beings from many different planets came to learn. They learned how to fly ships. They learned how to fight. They learned how to keep peace between the stars. The academy was old. It had been standing for thousands of years. Its tall towers were made of something that looked like glass, but was stronger than steel. Purple trees grew all around it. 2 suns hung in the sky, one orange and one white. Danny Cortez walked through the main corridor of the academy. He was 19 years old. He had brown hair and brown eyes. He was not very tall. Back on Earth, in a city called Phoenix, he had been normal. Here, among beings from 17 different species, he felt very small. Humans had only been part of the coalition for 20 years. That was nothing. Some of the species here had been flying between stars for 10,000 years. Some for even longer. To them, humans were like babies who had just learned to walk. Many of them did not think humans belonged at the academy at all. There were only 43 human cadets. 43 out of more than 6,000 students. Danny knew most of them by name. They stuck together when they could. They had to. Danny checked the time on his wrist device. It was late. He had stayed in the library too long, studying for a test on stellar navigation. The corridors were mostly empty now. Most cadets were in their rooms or in the dining hall. He turned a corner and stopped. 3 Cathari stood in the middle of the corridor. They were huge. The smallest one was almost 8 feet tall. They had 4 arms each, and their skin looked like copper that had been polished until it shined. Their eyes were gold with no pupils, just solid gold circles that seemed to glow in the dim light. The one in front was named Vornak. Danny knew him. Everyone knew him. His father was an admiral in the coalition fleet. His family had been important among the Cathari for hundreds of generations. Vornak never let anyone forget this. "Little human," Vornak said. His voice was deep like thunder. "Out so late. All alone." Danny felt his heart beat faster. He tried to keep his face calm. "I was just studying. I am going back to my room now." He tried to walk around them. One of the other Cathari, the one on the left, moved to block him. The third one moved behind Danny. He was trapped. "Why do you hurry?" Vornak asked. He smiled, but it was not a nice smile. Cathari had many teeth, all of them sharp. "We only want to talk. I do not want any trouble," Danny said. "Trouble?" Vornak laughed. The sound echoed off the walls. "There is no trouble here. Just a lesson. A lesson about where your species belongs in this galaxy." The Cathari behind Danny grabbed him. 4 hands wrapped around his arms and his shoulders. Danny tried to pull away, but it was like trying to move a mountain. The Cathari was too strong. They lifted him off the ground. His feet kicked in empty air. Then they slammed him against the wall and held him there. The metal was cold against his back. His shoulders hurt where the hands gripped him. Vornak walked closer. He was so tall that even with Danny pinned high on the wall, they were almost at the same eye level. "Your kind crawled out of mud," Vornak said. 5 minutes ago in the history of the galaxy, your ancestors were living in caves and hitting each other with rocks. And now you think you can stand with us? You think you can be soldiers and diplomats and explorers?" Danny could not breathe properly. The grip was too tight. He tried to speak, but only a small sound came out. "My people were building cities when your planet was still covered in ice," Vornak continued. "We were flying between stars when your people were still learning to make fire. You are nothing. Your species is nothing. And you need to understand this." One of the other Cathari laughed. "Maybe we should help him understand better." "Yes," Vornak agreed. "I think that is a good idea." Danny closed his eyes. This was not the first time something like this had happened. Last month, A group of Relian cadets had cornered him in the training room. Before that, some others had stolen his study materials and thrown them in the waste disposal. He had learned not to fight back. Fighting back only made things worse. He had learned to wait until it was over, but this time felt different. This time, the look in Vornak's golden eyes was darker than before. "Please," Danny managed to say. "I have not done anything to you." "You exist," Vornak replied. "That is enough." He raised one of his 4 hands. It was curled into a fist. "Stop." The voice came from behind them. It was not loud. It was not angry. It was calm and clear, like water in a quiet stream. Vornak turned. So did the others. Danny could not see past them, but he heard footsteps. Someone was walking toward them. "Go away," Vornak said. "This is not your concern. Put him down." Now Danny could see who was speaking. It was a girl. A human girl. She was short, maybe 5 feet and 4 inches tall. She had dark hair tied back in a simple braid. She wore the same gray uniform as all the other cadets. She carried a bag over one shoulder. Danny had seen her before. She was new. She had arrived at the academy only a few weeks ago. He did not know her name. She stood alone at the end of the corridor. 3 giant Cathari in front of her. And she did not look afraid. Not even a little bit. Vornak laughed again. "Another human? What will you do, little female? Will you fight us?" The girl did not answer. She just looked at them. Her eyes were brown like earth after rain. There was something in those eyes that made Vornak's laughter fade. Something that made the corridor feel colder. "I will not tell you again," she said. "Put him down." Danny hung on the wall and watched this small girl face 3 beings that could break her in half without trying. He did not understand what she was doing. He did not understand why she was not running away. But somewhere deep inside him, he felt something he had not felt in a long time: hope. The girl from Earth did not move. She stood at the end of the corridor like a stone in a river. The 3 Cathari turned to face her fully now. The one holding Danny against the wall did not let go, but his grip loosened just a little. Her name was Katie Sullivan. She had grown up in a small town in Maine, on the eastern coast of the United States. It was a fishing town. Her father had worked on boats. Her mother had worked in a shop that sold things to tourists. Katie had learned to sail before she learned to ride a bicycle. She had learned that the ocean did not care how strong you were or how brave you felt. The ocean did what the ocean wanted. You could only survive it by being smart. Now she was here, on a planet far from Earth, facing something much bigger than any wave. Vornak took a step toward her. "You are either very brave or very stupid. I cannot decide which." "I could say the same about you," Katie replied. This made Vornak stop. No human had ever talked to him like this before. He was not sure how to respond. "You should run," he said. "Go back to your room. Pretend you did not see anything. This does not concern you. He is a human. I am a human. It concerns me." "Then you are stupid," Vornak decided. "And stupidity has a price." He took another step toward her. His companions watched. The one holding Danny seemed confused. This was not how things usually went. Usually, humans ran. Usually, humans stayed quiet and accepted what was happening to them. Katie did not move. "The academy has security cameras," she said. Her voice was still calm. "Recording devices in every corridor. You know this. This corridor is a blind spot," Vornak said. "Section 7B. Everyone knows there are no cameras here. That is why we chose it. The blind spot was fixed 3 days ago," Katie said. "There was a maintenance request from Instructor Melviny. She said cadets were using this corridor for things they should not be doing. The academy installed new sensors. Everything that happens here is being watched right now. Vornak's golden eyes narrowed. You are lying. Am I? Katie tilted her head to one side. I looked at the maintenance logs yesterday. They are public records. Any cadet can see them if they know where to look. The new sensors went active 72 hours ago. The corridor was very quiet. Danny could hear his own blood pumping in his ears. He watched Vornak's face. The big Cathuri was thinking, trying to decide if she was telling the truth. Your father is Admiral Vornak the Elder, Katie continued. He sits on the Coalition Military Council. He's responsible for fleet operations in the entire Outer Rim. Very important position. Very important family. What does my father have to do with this? Everything. Katie took one step forward. Just one. Right now, somewhere in the Academy Security Center, someone is watching this corridor. They are seeing 3 Cathari cadets holding a human against the wall. They are seeing the son of Admiral Vornak leading this. She let that sit in the air for a moment. What do you think will happen when that recording reaches your father? What do you think the military council will say when they see an admiral's son attacking a cadet from a member species? A species that the Coalition has been trying to build good relations with for 20 years? Vornak's face changed. The confidence was fading. Doubt was taking its place. Humans are nothing, he said, but his voice was less sure now. No one cares what happens to them. The Coalition cares about appearances, Katie replied. They care about peace between species. They care about showing the galaxy that they treat all members fairly. If this recording gets out, it will not matter that we are small and weak and new. It will matter that you broke the rules. It will matter that you embarrassed your family. She took another step forward. I already sent a flag to the security office. 30 seconds ago, from my communicator. They are probably watching right now. They are probably trying to decide if this is serious enough to send officers. Danny saw something he had never seen before. He saw fear in a Cathari's eyes. You would not, Vornak said. I already did. Another step. She was close to them now. Close enough that Vornak could reach out and grab her with any of his 4 arms. But he did not move. So here is what happens next, Katie said. You let my friend go. Gently. You put him down and you walk away. Tomorrow you pretend this never happened. So will I. The security office will mark my flag as a false alarm. Nothing bad happens to anyone. She paused. Or you can keep holding him there. You can hurt him like you wanted to. And in about 2 minutes, your whole life changes. Your career ends. Your family's honor is stained. All because you wanted to feel big by pushing around someone smaller than you. The corridor was silent. Danny watched Vornak's face. He watched the calculations happening behind those golden eyes. Pride against fear. Anger against caution. 12,000 years of Cathari superiority against the simple. Terrible possibility that this small human girl was telling the truth. Finally, Vornak made a small gesture with one of his hands. The Cathari, holding Danny, released him. Danny fell. His legs were weak, and he had to catch himself against the wall to keep from collapsing to the floor. He gasped for air. His shoulders ached where the hands had gripped him. Vornak looked at Katie. His face was hard to read now. This is not over, he said. Yes, it is, Katie replied. Because here's what you need to understand. I will remember this. I will remember what you did and what you were going to do. And if anything happens to any human cadet in this academy, from this day forward, I will make sure the whole galaxy knows about it. She smiled. It was not a warm smile. Your species has 12,000 years of history. That is a lot of records. A lot of old stories. I wonder how many of them would look good under close examination. Vornak stared at her for a long moment. Then, without another word, he turned and walked away. His companions followed him. Their footsteps echoed down the corridor until the sound faded into nothing. Katie walked over to Danny. She held out her hand to help steady him. "Are you okay?" He nodded. Then he shook his head. Then he nodded again. He was not sure what he was. "How did you know about the cameras?" he asked. Katie's smile changed. It became something smaller, something secret. "I did not," she said. "There are no new sensors. Section 7B is still a blind spot. I made it all up." Danny stared at her. He could not believe what he was hearing. "You were lying?" "The whole time. My grandmother used to say something," Katie said. "She said that half of winning a fight is making the other person believe they have already lost. Vornak's father really is on the military council." That part was true. The one thing he could not risk was being wrong about the cameras. She shrugged. "So I made sure he was not willing to find out." Danny laughed. He could not help it. The sound came out of him like a pressure valve releasing. He laughed until tears formed in his eyes. "That was crazy," he said. "That was completely crazy." "Probably," Katie agreed. "But it worked." She started walking down the corridor. After a moment, Danny followed her. "I am Katie," she said. Danny Cortez." "I know. We are in the same stellar navigation class. You always sit in the back corner and never talk to anyone." Danny felt his face grow warm. "I try to stay invisible." "Yes," Katie said. "I noticed. That is going to have to change." And Danny, still shaking from what had just happened, still amazed that he was walking away unhurt, found himself nodding. "Okay," he said. "Tell me what you have in mind." Katie and Danny walked through the quiet corridors of the academy. The two suns of Vexor Prime had set an hour ago. Through the tall windows, they could see the night sky filled with more stars than anyone on Earth could ever imagine. Some of those stars had planets. Some of those planets had people. The galaxy was bigger than the human mind could truly understand. "There are 43 of us," Katie said. 43 humans in this whole academy. Do you know how many different species are represented here? 17, Danny said. 17 species. Some of them have thousands of cadets here. The Cathari alone have over 800. We have 43. She stopped walking and turned to face him. "What happens when one of us gets cornered like you did tonight?" Danny knew the answer. He had lived the answer. Nothing. We stay quiet. We wait for it to be over. And does it work? Does staying quiet make them stop? He thought about all the times it had happened. The stolen equipment. The mean words. The shoves in the hallways. The constant feeling that he did not belong, that he would never belong. "No," he admitted. "It just makes them think they can do it again. Right." Katie started walking again. "So we need to change the rules." "How?" "We stick together. All of us. 43 humans might be a small number, but it is not nothing. If every human at this academy knows that the other humans have their back, that changes things. If the Cathari or the Vrelians or anyone else knows that hurting one of us means dealing with all of us, they will think twice." Danny considered this. Some of the other cadets might not want to make trouble. They might just want to keep their heads down and graduate. I am not talking about making trouble. I am talking about not being victims anymore. Katie's voice was firm. "We study together. We eat together when we can. We walk in groups, especially at night. If someone is being harassed, we document it. We report it. We make sure there is a record. The instructors do not always care about reports from humans. Then we make them care. We be so professional, so careful, so thorough with our documentation that they cannot ignore us. And if the instructors will not listen, we go higher. The Academy has oversight committees. The Coalition has laws about treatment of member species. We use every tool we have. They reached a junction where the corridor split in 3 directions. One way led to the human housing section. Another led to the common areas. The third led to the administrative offices. What if it makes things worse? Danny asked. What if standing together just makes them come at us harder? Katie was quiet for a moment. My father used to tell me something. He said that you can either be a victim or you can be a problem. Victims get hurt and nobody cares. Problems get hurt sometimes too, but at least people pay attention. She looked at him directly. Her brown eyes were serious. I would rather be a problem than a victim. How about you? Danny thought about the wall. He thought about the cold metal against his back and the feeling of those 4 hands holding him up like he weighed nothing. He thought about the fear and the helplessness and the certainty that nobody was coming to help. Nobody except this girl he had barely spoken to before tonight. Okay, he said. I am in. Katie smiled. This time, it was a real smile, warm and genuine. Good. Tomorrow we start. The next day, Katie began reaching out to the other human cadets. She found them in classrooms and dining halls, in study rooms. She talked to each one personally. She told them what had happened in the corridor. She told them her idea. Some of them were scared. They did not want to draw attention to themselves. They thought things were hard enough already without making them harder. Katie listened to their concerns. She did not argue or push. She just said, think about it. You do not have to decide today, but know that we are here if you need us. Other cadets were angry. They had their own stories of harassment and mistreatment. They had been waiting for someone to do something, anything, for a long time. One of them was a young man named Leo Bradley from Texas. He was bigger than most humans, almost 6 feet tall with broad shoulders. Back on Earth, he had been considered strong. Here, he was still small compared to most species. But his spirit was not small at all. I have been wanting to fight back since I got here, Leo said. Tell me what to do. Katie shook her head. We are not fighting. Not with fists. We are organizing. We are protecting each other. There is a difference. What kind of difference? Fighting is what they expect from us. Fighting is what they want. It gives them an excuse to call us violent primitives and throw us out of the academy. Katie leaned forward. What we are doing is smarter. We are making ourselves too much trouble to bother with. We are making sure that anyone who hurts us pays a cost for it. Leo thought about this. Then he nodded slowly. Okay, I can do that. Within a week, things began to change. Human cadets started walking in pairs or groups. They claimed a section of the dining hall as their usual spot. They formed study groups for the harder subjects. If anyone had a problem, they told the others. If anyone saw harassment, they wrote it down with times and dates and names that other species noticed. Some of them did not like it. A group of Relian cadets, tall and thin with silver-gray skin, cornered Katie outside the physics laboratory. You are making waves, their leader said. His name was Shenkeo, and he had cold blue eyes that never blinked. Some people do not like waves. Katie stood her ground. I am not breaking any rules. Rules can be bent. Accidents can happen. If an accident happens to me, 32 other humans will be watching. They will document everything. They will make reports. They will make noise. She paused. Is that what you want? Shenkeo stared at her for a long moment. Then he made a clicking sound with his tongue, the Vrelian way of showing displeasure. Humans, he said. You are like insects. Step on one and 10 more appear. I will take that as a compliment. He walked away. His friends followed. Katie let out a long breath. Her hands were shaking, but she did not let anyone see. Not everyone was hostile. Some species watched the humans with curiosity instead of anger. Thalasian cadet named Rix approached Danny in the library one afternoon. The Thalasians looked almost human, except for their blue skin and the patterns of darker blue that swirled across their faces like tattoos. They were a relatively young species in the Coalition, only about 4,000 years as spacefaring people. They remembered what it was like to be newcomers. "What are the humans doing?" Rix asked. "We are organizing," Danny said. "Why?" "Because we were tired of being targets." Rix was quiet for a moment. Then she sat down across from Danny at the study table. "My grandmother told me stories," she said. "When my people first joined the Coalition, the older species treated us badly. They said we were primitive. They said we did not belong." "Sound familiar?" "Very familiar. We learned to stand together too. It took time. It took patience. But eventually, we earned our place." Rix looked at Danny with her large, dark eyes. "Maybe humans are learning faster than we did." "Maybe we have to," Danny said. "We do not have 4,000 years to figure this out." Rix smiled. It was a small smile, but it was genuine. "No," she agreed. "I suppose you do not." Word spread beyond the cadets. The instructors began to notice what was happening. Some of them disapproved. They said the humans were being divisive, that they were setting themselves apart from the other species. Others quietly offered support. One evening, Instructor Melviny called Katie to her office. Melviny was Cathari, old and scarred from centuries of military service. Her golden eyes had seen more than most beings would ever experience. "You are causing trouble," Melviny said. "I am following the rules." Katie replied, "That is not what I asked." The old instructor leaned back in her chair. "I asked if you are causing trouble. The answer is yes. You are. The question is whether it is the right kind of trouble." Katie did not know how to respond to that. Melviny was silent for a long moment. Then she said, "I have taught here for 300 years. I have seen species come and go. The ones who survive are not always the strongest or the smartest. They are the ones who learn to stand together." She reached into a drawer and pulled out a data chip. This contains information about which parts of the academy are truly unmonitored, which instructors can be trusted, which senior cadets might be willing to help. She slid the chip across the desk. "Use it wisely." Katie took the chip. "Why are you helping us?" "Because your species learns fast," Melviny said. "And fast learners change the galaxy. For better or worse, humans are going to matter someday. I would like to see it be for better." Katie left the office with the chip in her pocket and a new understanding forming in her mind. They were not alone. Not completely. They just had to find the ones willing to stand with them. 2 months passed. The seasons changed on Vexor Prime. The purple trees lost their leaves and grew silver ones instead. The air became colder. The academy routine continued as it always had. Classes and training and the endless preparation for a life among the stars. But for the humans, everything was different now. They had become something more than scattered individuals. They had become a group, a community. When one of them struggled with a subject, others helped. When one of them was alone, others found them. The dining hall table that they had claimed grew crowded. Sometimes other species joined them there. The curious ones, the friendly ones, the ones who remembered what it was like to be new. Katie had become their leader, though she never used that word. She called herself a coordinator. She said she was just trying to help everyone help each other. But when there was a decision to be made, people looked to her. When there was trouble, people came to her first. Danny had changed too. He no longer sat in the back of classrooms. He no longer tried to be invisible. He spoke up in discussions. He answered questions when instructors asked them. Some of the other species still looked at him with contempt, but now he looked back. He met their eyes. He did not flinch. It was a Tuesday when everything changed. The morning started like any other morning. Katie was in the common room with a group of human cadets, reviewing notes for an upcoming exam. Danny was there, and Leo, and a few others. They were laughing about something one of their instructors had said the day before. Then the alarm sounded. It was not the regular alarm, the one that called cadets to assembly or signaled a schedule change. This was different, deeper, more urgent. It made the walls vibrate. Every screen in the common room flickered and changed. The face of Admiral Chun appeared. She was human, one of the highest-ranking humans in the entire coalition fleet. Her expression was grave. All cadets report to your assigned stations immediately. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. The message repeated. Cadets began running. The room emptied quickly. Katie grabbed Danny's arm. Come on. We need to find out what is happening. They made their way to the main information center, a large circular room filled with screens and holographic displays. Hundreds of cadets were already there, from every species, all of them trying to understand what was happening. The main display showed a map of the nearby space. A red dot blinked in a sector called the Outer Rim. Numbers and symbols appeared next to it. A transport ship, someone said. Coalition diplomatic vessel. It was attacked. Katie pushed closer to the display. She read the information scrolling across the screen. The transport had been carrying diplomatic personnel from several species to a negotiation summit. Raiders had attacked it near a barren moon. The ship had managed to crash land, but its distress signal was weak. The nearest military vessel was hours away. How many survivors? Danny asked. A Cathari cadet near the display checked the numbers. Unknown. At least 30 people were on board. Maybe more. They're not going to make it, Leo said quietly. If the military is hours away and raiders are in the area, those people do not have hours. Katie stared at the display. Her mind was working fast. She was thinking about distances and speeds and possibilities. The Academy has training ships, she said. Danny looked at her. What? Training ships? The ones senior cadets use for practice missions. They are fast. They have emergency supplies. Medical equipment. Leo understood what she was thinking. His eyes went wide. Katie, no. That is against about 100 different rules. Those people are going to die. We could be expelled. We could be arrested. Those people are going to die, Katie repeated. Her voice was harder now. 30 innocent people are going to die while we sit here and wait for someone else to save them. She looked around the room at the human cadets who had gathered nearby. They were all watching her. Waiting. I am not ordering anyone to do anything, she said. This is not an order. This is a choice. Every person has to make their own choice. But I am going. I am taking a training ship, and I am going to that moon. If anyone wants to come with me, meet me at the hangar in 10 minutes. She turned and walked toward the exit. Danny followed her without hesitation. Behind them, other cadets began to move. 12 minutes later, Katie stood in the hangar bay. 22 cadets had come. 17 humans and 5 from other species, including Rix the Thalasian and 2 Cathari cadets who had broken with their own people to join. This is probably a terrible idea, one of the Cathari said. His name was Torvin. He was young for his species, barely considered an adult. Probably, Katie agreed. Are you coming anyway? Torvin looked at his companion, then back at Katie. Yes, we are coming. They took 2 training ships. Katie commanded one, Danny the other. The ships were not built for combat, but they were fast and maneuverable. They launched before anyone could stop them. The journey took 4 hours. 4 hours of tension and fear and second-guessing. 4 hours of wondering, if they were making a huge mistake. When they arrived at the moon, they found the crashed transport. It was a broken thing, half buried in gray dust and black rock. Smoke rose from its engines. Bodies lay scattered around it, though some were moving. Around the crash site, a dozen smaller ships circled like predators waiting for their prey to weaken. Raiders. They had not attacked yet. They were waiting for the survivors to exhaust themselves. "They see us," Danny said over the communication system. His voice was tight. "I know," Katie replied. "New plan. Half of our people land near the transport. Get the survivors into our ships. The other half stays in the air and makes as much noise as possible." Makes noise? Distractions. Draw their attention. Make them think we are a bigger threat than we are. Leo's voice came over the system. "That is crazy." "That is the plan. Danny, you lead the ground team. I will handle the distractions." "Katie, those are real raiders." "They have real weapons." "I know." She took a breath. "Trust me. We can do this." The next hour and a half was the longest of Katie's life. She flew her training ship in patterns that no sane pilot would attempt. She dove toward the raiders and pulled away at the last moment. She flew through gaps that barely existed. She made her ship look like it was attacking when it had no weapons to attack with. She drew their fire and dodged it, again and again. On the ground, Danny led his team through the wreckage. They found survivors hiding in the broken ship, injured and scared. They loaded them onto the training vessels as fast as they could. Raider fire hit the rocks around them, throwing up sprays of dust and debris, a diplomatic aid from some species. Danny did not recognize grabbed his arm as he helped her into the ship. "Why are you doing this?" she asked. Her face was bleeding and her voice was weak. "You are just cadets." "Someone had to help," Danny said. "We were the ones who could." They held the line for 97 minutes. 97 minutes of chaos and terror and desperate hope. Then the coalition military arrived. 3 warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel like hammers falling from the sky. The raiders scattered and ran. Within minutes, it was over. Katie landed her ship next to Danny's. Her hands were shaking so badly she could barely control the steering. When she stepped out onto the gray dust of the moon, her legs almost gave out beneath her. Danny was there. He caught her arm and held her steady. "We did it," he said. His voice was full of wonder. Katie looked at the survivors being transferred to the military ships. She looked at her team of cadets, exhausted and terrified and alive. She looked up at the 3 warships hanging in the sky like guardian angels. "Yeah," she said. "We did." They had saved 34 lives. Not a single survivor was lost, and nothing would ever be the same again. The return to the academy was strange. Katie had expected to be arrested. She had expected to be thrown in a holding cell and questioned for hours about why she had stolen academy ships and put cadet lives at risk. She had prepared speeches in her head, arguments about why what they did was right, even if it broke the rules. Instead, they were met at the hangar by a crowd. Hundreds of cadets stood waiting when the training ships landed. All species, all backgrounds, all looking at the small group of volunteers who had done something impossible. The crowd was silent at first. Then someone started clapping. Then another person. Then the whole hangar was filled with applause that echoed off the metal walls and made Katie's ears ring. She did not know how to feel about it. The academy leadership had a harder time deciding how to feel. For 3 days, the cadets who had participated in the rescue were confined to their quarters while officials debated what to do with them. It was not a simple situation. On one hand, they had broken numerous regulations, taking academy ships without permission, flying into a dangerous area without authorization, putting themselves and others at risk. The rulebook said they should be expelled, possibly prosecuted. On the other hand, they had saved 34 lives. They had held off raiders with unarmed training vessels. The survivors included diplomats from 5 different coalition species, including the daughter of a Cathari senator. The story was already spreading across the galaxy, carried by news services and social feeds. The cadets were being called heroes. Expelling heroes was politically complicated. On the 4th day, Katie was called to the office of the Academy Commandant. His name was Lord Vexer, a very old being from a species that looked like walking trees. He had been in charge of the Academy for over 500 years. Katie stood at attention in front of his desk. Her heart was beating fast, but she kept her face calm. Lord Vexer looked at her for a long time. His eyes were like dark pools that reflected nothing. "You broke 17 different regulations," he said finally. His voice was like wind through branches. "You endangered your fellow cadets. You took Academy property without permission. You interfered with a military situation." "Yes, sir," Katie said. "You also saved 34 lives," he continued. "You showed courage, quick thinking, and leadership skills that many officers twice your age do not possess. The Coalition Council has received formal thanks from 5 different governments. The Cathari senator, whose daughter you rescued, has personally requested that the Academy show mercy." Katie did not know what to say to that, so she said nothing. Lord Vexer leaned forward. "I have been teaching young beings for a very long time. I have learned that rules exist for good reasons. But I have also learned that sometimes the right thing to do is to break the rules." He slid a document across his desk. "This is an official reprimand. It will go in your permanent record. It states that you violated Academy protocols and took unauthorized action." He paused. "It also includes a commendation for exceptional bravery. These 2 things will sit next to each other in your file forever. Let anyone who reads it make their own judgment." Katie took the document. Her hands were trembling slightly. "Thank you, sir." "Do not thank me," Lord Vexer said. "I am an old being who has seen many species come and go. Most of them fade into history and are forgotten. Some of them change the galaxy." He looked at her with those deep, dark eyes. "I wonder which category humans will fall into." Katie walked out of the office feeling lighter than she had in days. The next week brought more changes. The other cadets who had participated in the rescue received similar treatment, reprimands and commendations both. The 5 non-human volunteers were celebrated by their own communities. Proof that not all of their species looked down on humans. But the biggest change was in how humans were treated at the Academy. It was not dramatic. It was not instant. But it was real. Cadets who had ignored humans before now nodded to them in the corridors. Instructors who had dismissed human contributions now called on them in class. The cruel jokes grew quieter. The harassment became less frequent. Katie noticed it most in the dining hall. Their table, the human table, was no longer isolated. Other species sat with them now. Not many at first, but more each week. Conversations happened that would have been impossible before. Friendships formed across the boundaries of species and history. One afternoon, Vornak found Katie in the corridor near the physics laboratory. The same corridor where she had faced him down 2 months earlier. He approached alone. No companions. No threat in his posture. "I want to talk to you," he said. Katie stopped but did not back away. "Talk then." Vornak was quiet for a moment. He seemed to be struggling with something inside himself. "What you did," he said finally. "At the moon. That was not what I expected from humans." "What did you expect?" "Weakness," he admitted. "Fear. The behavior of a young species that does not yet understand its place in the galaxy. And now?" Vornak shook his head slowly. "Now, I do not know what to think. My father says humans are either the greatest threat the Coalition has ever faced or its greatest hope. He cannot decide which. What do you think? The big Cadet looked at her for a long moment. His golden eyes were troubled. I think your species is too strange to predict, he said. You are small and soft. You live such short lives. By the time a Cadet is considered mature enough to make important decisions, a human has already lived their entire life and died. Katie listened without interrupting. But when you decide something matters, Vornik continued, you do not stop. You do not back down. You throw yourselves at impossible things as if you do not understand that you should fail. It is terrifying. He paused. And it is admirable. I do not know how to feel about that. Katie smiled. It was a genuine smile, without anger or triumph. Welcome to humanity, she said. We do not know how to feel about ourselves most of the time either. She held out her hand. Vornik looked at it. Among the Cadet, touching a former enemy was a sign of trust. It was not done lightly. It meant something. After a long moment, he took her hand. Perhaps, he said slowly, we judged your species too quickly. Perhaps, Katie agreed. But we have time to change that. Both of us. Vornik released her hand and walked away. But this time, it did not feel like a retreat. It felt like a beginning. Years later, when Katie Sullivan became the first human to command a coalition starship, reporters would ask her about her time at the academy. They would ask about the rescue mission, about the cadets who had broken every rule to save strangers they had never met. She always gave the same answer. Humans are not special because we are strong, she would say. We are not special because we are smart or advanced or powerful. The galaxy is full of species that are stronger and smarter and more powerful than we are. She would pause then, remembering a corridor and a wall and a boy pinned by creatures twice his size. Remembering the moment she decided to stop being a victim and start being a problem. We are special because we do not know how to give up, she would continue. We see someone in trouble and something inside us refuses to look away. It does not matter if it is impossible. It does not matter if we are afraid. We act anyway. We run toward the danger instead of away from it. We stand up when standing up should get us killed. The reporters would write this down. Trying to understand what made humans different. Katie would smile and think about all the people she had met along the way. Danny, who had learned to stand tall. Leo, who had channeled his anger into something useful. Rix and Torvin and all the others who had crossed the boundaries of species to become friends. Even Vornik, who had changed from an enemy into something that might someday be an ally. That is what it means to be Earthborn, she would finish. We break standoffs. We change the odds. And we do it not because we think we will win, but because we cannot imagine doing anything else. Then she would return to her ship and her crew and the endless stars, carrying humanity's spirit into the galaxy one mission at a time, and somewhere in an academy on a distant world. A new generation of human cadets would hear her story and know that they too could stand tall. The universe was watching. And humanity was just getting started.